Hare Krishna. So, here we are for today's reading of this week's. We're starting this week's reading of Bhagavatam. And last time we left off we're still at Canto 3, chapter 21, verse 16 today. We continue verse 16. And we do a little prayer before of Srimad Bhagavatam Mahima Stotra. Sarva Shastra Abdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpalam, Sarva Siddhantna Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidvanto Ditaditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita, Paramananda Patnaya, Prema Vakshaksharayate, Sarvanda Sarvasivyaya, Shri Krishna Namostume, Madeka Bandhu Matsangin, Mad Guru Mat Mahadana, Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute, Asadu Sadutadayin, Atinicho Chataraka, Hana Muncha Kadachin, Mam Vrem Nahrit Kantayospura. Translation: O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all of the worlds. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. I bow down to you who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, or exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me, always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, welcome everyone to today's reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are Canto 3, Chapter 21, Conversation between Manu and Kardama. Text 16. You all there? Ready? Are we ready? Translation. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you, who are eternal time. See, anyone knows who's speaking? Must be Kardama, because we have conversation between Manu and Kardama, so it must be Kardama speaking to Manu. I guess, because it says. Or is it Kardama to the Supreme Personality? Must be Supreme Personality because he addresses him as eternal time. So, yeah. Purport. In the Katha Upanishads, it is stated that the Supreme Lord is the leader of all living entities. He is their sustainer and the awarder of all their necessities and desires. No living entity is independent. All are dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Vedic instruction is that one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader, the Personality of Godhead. Vedic literatures like Ishopanishad direct that since everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not encroach upon another's property, but should enjoy one's individual allotment. The best program for every living entity is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and enjoy material or spiritual life. Okay, a question may be raised. Since Kardama Muni was advanced in spiritual life, why then did he not ask the Lord for liberation? Why did he want to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? Well, we know he asked for a wife, right? The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage, It is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. The Vedas are considered to be the direct words of the Lord. The Lord gives us the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want, and at the same time He gives directions for the modes and processes of abiding by the Vedas, so that gradually one may be elevated to liberation from material bondage. The conditioned souls who have come to fulfill their desires to lord it over material nature are bound by the laws of nature. The best course is to obey the Vedic rules. That will help one to be gradually elevated to liberation. Kardama Muni addresses the Lord as Shuka, which means the leader of religion. One who is pious should follow the rules of religion, for such rules are prescribed by the Lord Himself. No one can manufacture or concoct a religion. Religion refers to the injunctions or the laws of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that religion means to surrender unto Him. Therefore, one should follow the Vedic regulations and surrender unto the Supreme Lord, because that is the ultimate goal of perfection in human life. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry and live peacefully for elevation to the higher status of spiritual realization. 17. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. Purport. After describing the necessity of married life, Kardama Muni asserts that marriage and other social affairs are stereotyped regulations for persons who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. The principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are actually necessities of the body, but those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness, giving up all the stereotyped activities of this material world, are freed from social conventions. Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy, or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages in Krishna consciousness, he transcends the limits of past and present and becomes situated in the eternal activities of the soul. One has to act in terms of the Vedic injunctions in order to enjoy material life. But those who have taken to the devotional service of the Lord are not afraid of the regulations of this material world. Such devotees do not care for the conventions of material activities. They boldly take to that shelter which is like an umbrella against the sun of repeated birth and death. Constant transmigration of the soul from one body to another is the cause of suffering in material existence. This conditional life in material existence is called samsara. One may perform good work and take his birth in a very nice material condition, but the process under which birth and death take place is like a terrible fire. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, in his prayer to the spiritual master, has described this. Samsara, or the repetition of birth and death, is compared to a forest fire. A forest fire takes place automatically, without anyone's endeavor, by the friction of dried wood, and no fire department or sympathetic person can extinguish it. The raging forest fire can be extinguished only when there is a constant downpour of water from a cloud. The cloud is compared to the mercy of the spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master, the cloud of the mercy of the personality of Godhead is brought in, and then only when the rains of Krishna consciousness fall can the fire of material existence be extinguished. This is also explained here. In order to find freedom from the stereotyped conditional life of material existence, one has to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not in the manner in which the impersonalists indulge, but in devotional service, chanting and hearing of the activities of the Lord. Only then can one be freed from the actions and reactions of material existence. It is recommended here that one should give up the conditional life of this material world and the association of so-called civilized human beings who are simply following in a polished way the same stereotyped principles of eating, sleeping, defending and mating. Chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord is described here as Tvat-guna Vada Sindhu. Only by drinking the nectar of chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord can one forget the intoxication of material existence. The intoxication. 18. Your will, which has 3 naves, rotates around the axis of the imperishable Brahman. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Though its revolution cuts short the lifespan of the entire creation, this wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. Purport. So we're going to hear what this wheel is. The time factor cannot affect the span of life of the devotees. In Bhagavad Gita it is stated that the little execution of devotional service saves one from the greatest danger. The greatest danger is transmigration of the soul from one body to another, and only devotional service to the Lord can stop this process. It is stated in the Vedic literatures, Harim vina nasritim taranti. Without the mercy of the Lord, one cannot stop the cycle of birth and death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that only by understanding the transcendental nature of the Lord and His activities, His appearance and disappearance, can one stop the cycle of death and go back to Him. The time factor is divided into many fractions of movements, hours, months, years, periods, seasons, etc. All the divisions in this verse are determined according to the astronomical calculations of Vedic literature. There are 6 seasons called ritus, and there is the period of 4 months called Chaturmasya. 3 periods of 4 months complete 1 year. According to Vedic astronomical calculations, there are 13 months. The 13th month is called Adimas or Malamas and is added every 3rd year. The time factor, however, cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees. In other words, it is stated that when the sun rises and sets, it takes away the life of all living entities, but it cannot take away the life of those who are engaged in devotional service. Time is compared here to a big wheel which has 360 joints, 6 rims in the shape of seasons, and numberless leaves in the shape of moments. It rotates on the eternal existence, Brahman. 19. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes. O Personality of God, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy, called Yogamaya, just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. Purport. In this verse, 2 important words nullify the impersonalist theory that everything is God. Here, Kardama says, O Personality of Godhead, you are alone, but you have various energies. The example of the spider is very significant also. The spider is an individual living entity, and by its energy it creates a cobweb and plays on it, and whenever it likes, it winds up the cobweb, thus ending the play. When the cobweb is manufactured by the saliva of the spider does not become impersonal. Similarly, the creation and manifestation of the material or spiritual energy does not render the creator impersonal. Here the very prayer suggests that God is sentient and can hear the prayers and fulfill the desires of the devotee. Therefore he is Satchidananda Vigraha, the form of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. 20. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of tulasi leaves. Is it wreath or wreath? Never know how to pronounce this. Do you know? Wreath? Wreath? Wrath? Even. Okay. You know, garland. Okay. Purport. It is clearly stated here that the material world is not created by the personal will of the Supreme Lord. It is created by His external energy because the living entities want to enjoy it. This material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy sense gratification, who constantly remain in transcendental loving service, and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them, the spiritual world is eternally existing, and they enjoy there. Elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that for those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this material world is useless. Because this material world is full of danger at every step, it is not meant for the devotees, but for living entities who want to lord it over the material nature at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that He allows the sense-enjoying living entities a separate world, created by Him to enjoy as they like. Yet at the same time, He appears in His personal form. The Lord unwillingly creates this material world, but He descends in His personal form, or sends one of His reliable sons, or a servant, or a reliable author, like Vyasadeva, to give instruction. He Himself also instructs in His speeches of Bhagavad Gita. This propaganda work goes on side by side with the creation to convince the misguided living entities who are rotting in this material world to come back to Him and surrender unto Him. Therefore, the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is this: give up all your manufactured engagements in this material world and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Any other sentence you remember from the same verse? Give up sarvadharma prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. It also says, do not fear, right? In the Bhagavad Gita original translation. Do not fear, I shall protect you. Okay, we are at 21. Translation. I continuously offer my respectful obeisances under your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant. That's us. To give all living entities detachment from fruitive activity by realizing you, you have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. Purport. Everyone, therefore, whether he desires material enjoyment, liberation, or the transcendental loving service of the Lord, should engage himself offering obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, because the Lord can award everyone with his desired benediction. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord affirms, Ye yata mam prapadyante. Anyone who desires to be a successful enjoyer in this material world is awarded that benediction by the Lord. Anyone who wants to be liberated from the entanglement of this material world is given liberation by the Lord. And anyone who desires to constantly engage in his service in full Krishna consciousness is awarded that benediction by the Lord. So what's the requirement? What's the requirement? We just heard to be liberated, to become Krishna conscious, full Krishna conscious. Just the last sentence was desires is 3 times it's mentioned. One who desires to be successful enjoyer is awarded. One who wants to be liberated, or anyone who desires to engage. So sounds like desires or wants. I guess you need to desire it more than you desire the other thing. Okay, so for material enjoyment, he has prescribed so many ritualistic sacrificial performances in the Vedas, and thus people may take advantage of those instructions and enjoy material life in higher planets or in a noble aristocratic family. These processes are mentioned in the Vedas, and one can take advantage of them. It is similar with those who want to be liberated from this material world. Unless one is disgusted with the enjoyment of this material world, he cannot aspire for liberation. Yeah. So you cannot desire it if you still have some investments here or some desires here. Liberation is for one who is disgusted with material enjoyment. Vedanta Sutra says, therefore, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, those who have given up the attempt to be happy in this material world can inquire about the absolute truth. For those who want to know the absolute truth, the Vedanta Sutra is available, as is Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual explanation of Vedanta Sutra. Since Bhagavad Gita is also Vedanta Sutra, by understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedanta Sutra or Bhagavad Gita, one can obtain real knowledge. So any of these scriptures, this is what it says here. When one obtains real knowledge, he becomes theoretically one with the Supreme. And when he actually begins the service of Brahman or Krishna consciousness, he is not only liberated, but situated in his spiritual life. Similarly, for those who want to lord it over material nature, there are so many departments of material enjoyment. Material knowledge and material science are available, and the Lord provides for persons who want to enjoy them. The conclusion is that one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for any benediction. The word Kama Varsham is very significant, for it indicates that he satisfies the desires of anyone who approaches him. But one who sincerely loves Krishna and yet wants material enjoyment is in perplexity. Yeah. Krishna, being very kind towards him, gives him an opportunity to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so he gradually forgets the hallucination. 22. Now Rishi Uvacha, Maitreya Rishi resumed. Sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Purport. The word Vachasamritena is significant. Whenever the Lord speaks, he speaks from the transcendental world. He does not speak from the material world. Since he is transcendental, his speech is also transcendental, as is his activity. Everything in relation to him is transcendental. The word Amrita refers to one who does not meet with death. The words and activities of the Lord are deathless. Therefore, they are not manufactured of this material world. The sound of this material world and that of the spiritual world are completely different. The sound of the spiritual world is nectarian and eternal, whereas the sound of the material world is hackneyed and subject to end. The sound of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, everlastingly increases the enthusiasm of the chanter. If one repeats monotonous material words, he will feel exhausted. But if he chants Hare Krishna 24 hours a day, he will never feel exhausted. Rather, he will feel encouraged to continue chanting more and more. We have experienced, some of you. When the Lord replied to the sage Kardama, the word Vachasamritena is specifically mentioned, since he spoke from the transcendental world. He replied in transcendental words, and when he spoke, his eyebrows moved with great affection. When a devotee praises the glories of the Lord is very satisfied, and he bestows his transcendental benediction upon the devotee without reservation, because he is always causelessly merciful toward his devotee. 23. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Lord said, Having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that, for which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. So, I already know what you're praying. Everything is arranged. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is situated in everyone's heart. He knows, therefore, the past, present, and future of every individual person, as well as his desires, activities, and everything about him. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that He is seated in the heart as a witness. The Personality of Godhead knew the heart's desire of Kardama Muni, and He had already arranged for the fulfillment of his desires. He never disappoints a sincere devotee, regardless of what he wants, but He never allows anything which will be detrimental to the individual's devotional service. You're good now, so far? No questions? Yeah? You can ask if you're interested. Don't be shy. 24. The Lord continued, My dear Rishi, O leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. Purport. Even if he has some desires, one engaged in the service of the Lord is never frustrated. Those engaged in His service are called Sakama and Akama. Those who approach the Supreme Personality of God with desires for material enjoyment are called Sakama, and those devotees who have no material desires for sense gratification but serve the Supreme Lord out of spontaneous love for Him are called Akama. Sakama devotees are divided into 4 classes: those in distress, those in need of money, the inquisitive, and the wise. Someone worships the Supreme Lord because of bodily or mental distress. Someone else worships the Supreme Lord because he is in need of money. Someone else worships the Lord out of inquisitiveness to know Him as He is. And someone wants to know the Lord as a philosopher can know Him by the research work of his wisdom. There is no frustration for any of these 4 classes of men. Each is endowed with the desired result of his worship. Sakama. 25. The Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteous acts, has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 oceans. Purport. Sometimes it is stated that Brahmavarta is a part of Kurukshetra, or that Kurukshetra itself is situated in Brahmavarta, because the demigods are recommended to perform spiritual ritualistic performances in Kurukshetra. But in others' opinion, Brahmavarta is a place in Brahmaloka, where Swayambhuva ruled. There are many places on the surface of this earth which are also known in the higher planetary systems. We have places on this planet like Vrindavan, Dwarka, and Mathura, but they are also eternally situated in Krishnaloka. There are many similar names on the surface of the earth, and it may be that in the Bohr age, Swayambhuva Manu ruled this planet, as stated here. The word Mangala is significant. Mangala means one who is elevated in every respect in the opulences of religious performances, ruling power, cleanliness, and all other good activities. Vikhyata means celebrated. Swayambhuva Manu was celebrated for all good qualities and opulences. 26. The day after tomorrow, O Brahmana, that celebrated emperor who is expert in religious activities will come here with his queen, Shatarupa, wishing to see you. 27. He has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage, and she has good character and all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, her parents will come to see you, who are exactly suitable for her, just to deliver their daughter as your wife. Purport. The selection of a good husband for a good girl was always entrusted to the parents. Here it is clearly stated that Manu and his wife were coming to see Kardama Muni to offer their daughter, because the daughter was well qualified and the parents were searching out a similarly qualified man. This is the duty of parents. Girls are never thrown into the public street to search out their husband. For when girls are grown up and are searching after a boy, they forget to consider whether the boy they select is actually suitable for them. Out of the urge of sex desire, a girl may accept anyone, but if the husband is chosen by the parents, they can consider who is to be selected and who is not. According to the Vedic system, therefore, the girl is given over to a suitable boy by the parents. She is never allowed to select her own husband independently. So these things changed a little bit, but we still try to follow Vedic ways, in a way. Translation 28. That princess, O holy sage, will be just the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. She will soon be yours and will serve you to your heart's content. Purport. The Lord awards all benedictions according to the heart's desire of a devotee. So the Lord informed Kardama Muni, the girl who is coming to be married with you is a princess, the daughter of Emperor Swayambhuva, and so just suitable for your purpose. Only by God's grace can one get a nice wife just as he desires. Similarly, it is only by God's grace that a girl gets a husband suitable to her heart. Thus it is said that if we pray to the Supreme Lord in every transaction of our material existence, everything will be done very nicely and just suitable to our heart's desire. In other words, in all circumstances, we must take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and depend completely on His decision. Man proposes, God disposes. The fulfillment of desires, therefore, should be entrusted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the nicest solution. Kardama Muni desired only a wife, but because he was a devotee of the Lord selected a wife for him who was the emperor's daughter, a princess. Thus Kardama Muni got a wife beyond his expectation. If we depend on the choice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will receive benedictions in greater opulence than we desire. If it is also significantly noted here that Kardama Muni was a Brahmana, whereas Emperor Swayambhuva was a Kshatriya. Therefore, intercaste marriage was current even in those days. The system was that a Brahmana could marry the daughter of a Kshatriya, but a Kshatriya could not marry the daughter of a Brahmana. We have evidences from the history of the Vedic age that Shukracharya offered his daughter to Maharaj Yayati, but the king had to refuse to marry the daughter of a Brahmana. Only with the special permission of a Brahmana could they marry. Intercaste marriage, therefore, was not prohibited in the old days many millions of years ago, but there was a regular system of social behavior. Text 29. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you, and through the daughters you beget the sages will duly beget children. 30. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Okay, give up. Purport. Hear the words Tirti Kritashesha Kriyartaha are significant. Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. This system is still current. Therefore the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your actions, you will offer everything unto me. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, the result should be given to me only. In another place in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, I'm I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. All activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to Kardama Muni. Maharaj Yudhishthira welcomed Narada Muni. Wherever you are present, that place becomes sanctified, because the Lord Himself is always seated in your heart. Similarly, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and His representative, then everything is sanctified. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it and therefore received the most excellent wife and child, as will be disclosed in later verses. 31. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as all the universes in me and myself in you. Purport. The simple process of self-realization for every living entity is described here. The first principle to be understood is that this world is a product of the Supreme Will. There is an identity of this world with the Supreme Lord. This identity is accepted in a misconceived way by the impersonalists. They say that the Supreme Absolute Truth, transforming Himself into the universe, loses His separate existence. Thus they accept the world and everything in it to be the Lord. That is pantheism, wherein everything is considered to be the Lord. This is the view of the impersonalist. But those who are personal devotees of the Lord take everything to be the property of the Supreme Lord. Everything, whatever we see, is the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. This is oneness. The difference between the impersonalist and the personalist is that the impersonalist does not accept the separate existence of the Lord, but the personalist accepts the Lord. He understands that although he distributes himself in so many ways, he has his separate personal existence. This is described in Bhagavad Gita. I am spread all over the universe in my impersonal form. Everything is resting on me, but I am not present. There is a nice example regarding the sun and the sunshine. The sun, by its sunshine, is spread all over the universe, and all the planets rest on the sunshine. But all the planets are different from the sun planet. One cannot say that because the planets are resting on the sunshine, these planets are also the sun. Similarly, the impersonal or pantheistic view that everything is God is not a very intelligent proposal. The real position, as explained by the Lord Himself, is that although nothing can exist without Him, it is not a fact that everything is Him. He is different from everything. So here also the Lord says, you will see everything in the world to be non-different from me. This means that everything should be considered a product of the Lord's energy, and therefore everything should be employed in the service of the Lord. One's energy should be utilized for one's self-interest. That is the perfection of the energy. This energy can be utilized for real self-interest if one is compassionate. A person in Krishna consciousness, a devotee of the Lord, is always compassionate. He is not satisfied that only he himself is a devotee, but he tries to distribute the knowledge of devotional service to everyone. There are many devotees of the Lord who faced many risks in distributing devotional service of the Lord to people in general. That should be done. It is also said that a person who goes to the temple of the Lord and worships with great devotion, but who does not show sympathy to people in general or show respect to other devotees, is considered to be a third-class devotee. The second-class devotee is he who is merciful and compassionate to the fallen soul. The second-class devotee is always cognizant of his position as an eternal servant of the Lord. He therefore makes friendship with devotees of the Lord, acts compassionately toward the general public in teaching them devotional service, and refuses to cooperate with the As long as one is not compassionate to people in general in his devotional service to the Lord, he is a third-class devotee. The first-class devotee gives assurance to every living being that there is no fear of this material existence. Let us live in Krishna consciousness and conquer the nations of material existence. It is indicated here that Kardama Muni was directed by the Lord to be very compassionate and liberal in his household and his renounced life. A sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life, is meant to give enlightenment to the people. He should travel from home to enlighten. The householder, by the spell of Maya, becomes absorbed in family affairs and forgets his relationship with Krishna. If he dies in forgetfulness, like the cats and dogs, then his life is spoiled. It is the duty of a sannyasi, therefore, to go and awaken the forgetful souls with enlightenment of their eternal relationship with the Lord and to engage them in devotional service. The devotee should show mercy to the fallen souls and also give them the assurance of fearlessness. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he is convinced that he is protected by the Lord. Fear itself is afraid of the Lord. Therefore, what has he to do with fearfulness? How does devotee show mercy to the fallen souls? And that's a real question. It's not written. It's not. How does devotee show mercy to the fallen souls? Or what's the best way? Oh, sorry. I didn't hear. Okay. But how you give the knowledge? You write on Facebook? Okay. Distribute the books. So we are so we are also we're doing Krishna, continuing. Fear itself is afraid of the Lord. Therefore, what has he to do with fearfulness? To award fearlessness to the common man is the greatest act of charity. Oh wow. To award fearlessness. A sannyasi, or one who is in the renounced order of life, should wander from door to door, from village to village, from town to town, and from country to country, all over the world, as far as he is able to travel, and enlighten the householders about Krishna consciousness. A person who is a householder but is initiated by a sannyasi has the duty to spread Krishna consciousness at home as far as possible. He should call his friends and neighbors to his house and hold classes in Krishna consciousness. Holding a class means chanting the holy name of Krishna and speaking from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. There are immense literatures for spreading Krishna consciousness, and it is the duty of each and every householder to learn about Krishna from his sannyasi spiritual master or spiritual master. Sorry, I'm not correcting, just adding. There is a division of labor in the Lord's service. The householder's duty is to earn money, because a sannyasi is not supposed to earn money, but is completely dependent on the householder. Thus, the householder should earn money by business or by profession and spend at least 50%. Yes, it's 50% of his income to spread Krishna consciousness. 25% he can spend for his family, and 25% he should save to meet emergencies. This example was shown by Rupa Goswami, so devotees should follow it. So we are also getting there. Actually, to be one with the Supreme Lord means to be one with the interest of the Lord. Becoming one with the Supreme Lord does not imply becoming as great as the Supreme Lord. It is impossible. The part is never equal to the whole. The living entity is always a minute part. Therefore, his oneness with the Lord is that he is interested in the one interest of the Lord. The Lord wants every living entity to always think about him, to be his devotee and always worship him. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakta. Krishna wants everyone always to think of him. Everyone should always offer obeisances to Krishna. This is the will of the Supreme Lord, and devotees should try to fulfill his desire. Since the Lord is unlimited, his desire is also unlimited. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. In the transcendental world, there is unlimited competition between the Lord and the servitor. The Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimitedly, and the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desires. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. There is unlimited oneness of interest. Text 32. O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. Purport. Herein the word Samsha Kalaya indicates that the Lord would appear as the son of Devahuti and Kardama Muni as Kapiladev, the first propounder of the Sankhya philosophy, which is mentioned here as Tattva Samhita. The Lord foretold to Kardama Muni that he would appear in his incarnation Kapiladev and would propagate the philosophy of Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy is very well known in the world as propagated by another Kapiladev, but that Sankhya philosophy is different from the Sankhya which was propounded by the Lord himself. There are 2 kinds of Sankhya philosophy. One is godless Sankhya philosophy and the other is godly Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhya propagated by Kapiladev, son of Devahuti, is godly philosophy. There are different manifestations of the Lord. He is one, but he has become many. He divides himself into 2 different expansions, one called Kala and the other Vibhinnamsha. Ordinary living entities are called Vibhinnamsha expansions, and the unlimited expansions of Vishnu Tattva, such as Vamana, Govinda, Narayana, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, and Ananta, are called Swamsha Kala. Swamsha refers to a direct expansion, and Kala denotes an expansion from the expansion of the original Lord. Baladev is an expansion of Krishna, and from Baladev the next expansion is Sankarshana. The Sankarshana is Kala, but Baladev is Swamsha. There is no difference, however, among them. This is very nicely explained in the Brahma Samhita. Dipachit evahi dashantaram abhyupetya. With 1 candle, one may light a 2nd candle, with a second a 3rd, and then a 4th, and in this way one can light up thousands of candles, and no candle is inferior to another in distributing light. Every candle has the full potential candle power, but there is still the distinction that one candle is the first, another is second, another the third, and another the fourth. Similarly, there is no difference between the immediate expansion of the Lord and his secondary expansion. The Lord's names are considered in exactly the same way. Since the Lord is absolute, his name, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, and his quality all have the same potency. In the absolute world, the name Krishna is the transcendental sound representation of the Lord. There is no potential difference between his quality, name, form, etc. If we chant the name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, that has as much potency as the Lord himself. There is no potential difference between the form of the Lord whom we worship and the form of the Lord in the temple. One should not think that one is worshipping a doll or statue of the Lord, even if others consider it to be a statue. Because there is not potential difference, one gets the same result by worshipping the statue of the Lord or the Lord himself. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. 33. Maitreya went on. Thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovar, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. Purport. One word in this verse is very significant. The Lord is stated here to be Pratyak Akshaja. He is imperceptible to material senses. but still he can be seen. This appears to be contradictory. We have material senses, but how can we see the Supreme Lord? He is called Adokshaja, which means that he cannot be seen by the material senses. Akshaja means knowledge perceived by material senses. Because the Lord is not an object that can be understood by speculation with our material senses, he is also called Ajita. He will conquer, but no one can conquer him. What does it mean then that still he can be seen? It is explained that no one can hear the transcendental name of Krishna, no one can understand his transcendental form, and no one can assimilate his transcendental pastimes. It is not possible. And how is it possible that he can be seen and understood? When one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. When one's senses are thus purified, then one can see, one can understand, and one can hear, and so on. The purification of the material senses and perception of the transcendental form, name, and quality of Krishna are combined together in one word, Pratyak Akshaja, which is used here. We have few more verses to the end. How many did you check? A lot, okay. Let me check that. So we'll do this one as last, 34. Translation. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier, Garuda. Purport. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the two wings of the transcendental bird Garuda, who carries the Lord everywhere, are two divisions of the Samaveda known as Brihat and Rathantara. Garuda works as the carrier of the Lord. Therefore, he is considered the transcendental prince of all carriers. With his two wings, Garuda began to vibrate the Samaveda, which is chanted by great sages to pacify the Lord. The Lord is worshipped by Brahma, by Lord Shiva, by Garuda, and other demigods with selected poems, and great sages worship him with the hymns of Vedic literatures, such as the Upanishads and Samaveda. These Samaveda utterances are automatically heard by the devotee when another great devotee of the Lord, Garuda, flaps his wings. It is clearly stated here that the sage Kardama began to look to the path by which the Lord was being carried to Vaikuntha. It is thus confirmed that the Lord descends from his abode, Vaikuntha, in the spiritual sky and is carried by Garuda. The path which leads to Vaikuntha is not worshipped by the ordinary class of transcendentalists. Only those who are already liberated from material bondage can become devotees of the Lord. Those who are not liberated from material bondage cannot understand transcendental devotional service. In Bhagavad Gita it is clearly stated, Yatatam api siddhanam, Bhagavad Gita 7.3. There are many persons who are trying to attain perfection by striving for liberation from material bondage, and those who are actually liberated are called Brahmabhuta or Siddha. Only the Siddhas, or persons liberated from material bondage, can become devotees. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who is engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service is already liberated from the influence of the modes of material nature. Here it is also confirmed that the path of devotional service is worshipped by liberated persons, not the conditioned souls. The conditioned soul cannot understand the devotional service of the Lord. Kardama Muni was a liberated soul who saw the Supreme Lord in person, face to face. There was no doubt that he was liberated, and thus he could see Garuda carrying the Lord on the way to Vaikuntha and hear the flapping of his wings vibrating the sound of Hare Krishna, the essence of the Samaveda. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Continuing tomorrow, 6:30 from verse 35 of chapter 21. Hare Krishna.